there is a real person behind the dramatic drama queen who is so overtly opinionated and talks a lot about internet culture and what's wrong with this world and trying to spread awareness on these dark, controversial topics. It can be a bit much sometimes, and I was really inspired by one of my favorite YouTubers of Herbs and Altars. They did a video about their normality phase, and I kind of wanted to talk a lot about who I am as a person, why I present like this, and my identification as goth. Where do we even start? I mean, if you've been subscribed to this channel for quite a while, you would remember that there was a little bit of a normie phase, if you will. And I'm going to go pretty in depth as to what got me to this point and why, pretty much. You will learn a lot about me in this video. It is going to be pretty dark, so I am going to be giving you a trigger warning now. I talk about R, SA, EDs. So I will start from growing up as a child. I didn't really know who I was. I was bullied a lot at school because I still am completely blind in my left eye, but it was a lot worse to the point where I had to wear glasses 24/7 because my eye would just go everywhere and everyone would laugh at me and have a little bit of a giggle and say, ha ha, she's that girl with the weird fucking eye. And I also used to have a pretty massive gap between my teeth. It's obviously closed up now that I've gotten older, but there was a lot you could say that set me apart from people, and I grew up already feeling very different from my classmates to my peers, and it was really, really hard for me to make friends with people, even as early as kindergarten. It was very, very difficult. Navigating through your childhood knowing that you are different and also having this weird sense that you want to die is also the weirdest thing to deal with as a child. I kept a lot of stuff to myself. Like, there was a couple of incidents that has happened to me that, yeah, I did tell my parents about, but you know, they do not know a lot. My friends don't know a lot of what's happened to me. Same with my siblings, even my partner, because it's a lot, you know? So I really don't remember much of my childhood. It was a childhood, really. I was a kid. I can't really tell you much about it other than the fact that I absolutely hated it, because I used to also be really sick before I went to school every single morning. I moved to so many different schools when I was a kid. Like, my family, we always moved around, so it was really, really fucking hard to have some sort of structure and make lifelong friends. It was a really hard thing to do because we were constantly moving, and with that, nobody wanted to be friends with the weird fucking kid who looked strange and acted strange and was constantly alone and would hide in the toilets at recess. Like, that is what my life was like as a child. So I want to skip that part because I don't really remember my childhood all that much because it was very traumatizing. So I'm going to come up to the point where I was about 13. Okay, 12, 13. We moved back to the southeastern suburbs, and my life took a really strange turn. So I went to this high school, and this particular school was just so anxiety inducing. You know, I still had the problem of my teeth having this huge gap, and my eyes still weren't right at that time. The patches, you know, the little pirate patches you gotta wear, I had to wear them a lot. I had to do so many tests at my specialist. My eyes were fucked still at that point. When I was in the 8th grade, I want to say. Yeah, it was in year 8. And this is about the time that I started to express myself externally. So I was listening to a lot of different music, such as Earl Sweatshirt, Tyler the Creator, and then I was listening to Korn, Slipknot, Behemoth. There was just so much music that I was listening to that was influencing the way I looked. And I remember that I turned up to school one day with heavy eyeliner and purple lipstick, and I got called into the principal's office and she was telling me how ugly I looked. Now, this is a very real event that happened that caused me to want to vomit after it happened, and I had to call my mom and she had to pick me up from school because it was so traumatizing. So anyways, I'm sitting and she's telling me how ugly I looked, and she was just basically saying like, the other girls don't wear this much makeup, so you need to go take it off in the bathroom right now. And so that's what I tried to do. There was a lot of problems with how heavy my makeup was in school, you know, with teachers and principals and whatnot. They would always be phoning my mum, and my mum would always be like, you know, I'm her mother and I allow her to do this. This is fine. I think she looks great. Even like looking back at some of my photos when I was, you know, that age, my makeup was so fucking bad. But my mum always wanted me to express myself during that period of time. And so they were just growing increasingly frustrated with that and treating me really, really badly because of it, because I was different and because I, you know, had a parent who was very much on my side and not on theirs. So she told me, my principal told me to go wipe my makeup off in the bathroom, and I was just bawling my eyes out. I wanted to vomit because she just made some really, really terrible comments to me. I'm probably missing a lot because with me and trauma, I like to push it down as much as I can so that I don't neck it. I had left school probably mid-year 8, and I started my journey with homeschooling. Now, with homeschooling, I had a lot of time on my hands. My mum was very efficient with homeschooling. She was an amazing teacher. You know, we did these classes online, so it's kind of like distance education where you're doing schooling with other kids online as well. But a lot of the time I just preferred to learn what my mum knew. So, you know, we did both of those things and it was quite fun. It gave me a lot of time to myself though, a lot of time to myself, and I started becoming obsessed with gore. I started becoming obsessed with black metal, with heavy metal. I started to become obsessed with just a lot of dark shit. This was around the time that there was a really big problem with me, I noticed, because when I had left school, I still had a lot of people harassing me, telling me to kill myself online, saying that my wrists would look a lot better with slits on them, saying so much stuff that you should never ever say to a human being. It's just, it was so bad. It was so horrible going through that. And around that time, I tried to I did something that I thought I would never do. And, you know, I was just so angry. I was so frustrated with the world that no matter where I went, everybody fucking hated me. People didn't like me. Like, why was it just that one token friend I had that was like, you know, I'm gonna be friends with this girl just to, you know, kind of make her feel better. Not that I necessarily care about her, because when I had left school, there was still, you know, that one person that did care, but it was just, she was getting bullied for being friends with me as well. So she had to unfortunately cut ties with me. And yeah, I was just very angry with the world. I was very angry with how people were treating me. I was, you know, getting a lot of names called. I was being told that I was ugly, that I was never gonna make it anywhere. And at the time I was dabbling into doing modeling, and I was told that I was too stick thin, that I needed to eat a hamburger, that I had a flat ass, that I had a flat chest, I had mosquito bites, I was a wall, I was the ugliest bitch alive, no one is going to make it with the London look, you know, your eye is fucked up, your hair is so fucking gross, I hate the color of it. There was so many comments that were made about my appearance that I started to really disdain myself, because it was only really my family members or my, you know, close fucking friends that I didn't have I didn't have any more that would tell me, you know, you're pretty, don't worry about what they say. But if it's like everyone's saying that one thing, who are you gonna believe? So one night I'm sitting in my bedroom and I'm bawling my fucking eyes out, and I just don't want to live anymore at this point because there was a really, really big problem with my anxiety and with my undiagnosed depression. So I had broken a piece off of my mirror, took it to my neck, cut my neck a little bit. I got too scared. And it wasn't even necessarily that I got too scared. I think it was getting scared of the fact of what I was about to do was going to harm my family for the rest of their lives. And I would feel just so fucking guilty for doing that. And so, you know, after I did that, I heard a knock on my door. And it was my little sister. And she was like, hey, do you want to come down and have some dinner? And she was very, very oblivious at that time. It was very much, you know, I was hiding these demons from her because, you know, our family was already going through so much at the time. And it was one of those things where I can't just tell my little sister, hey, I want to fucking die. I don't want to be alive anymore. I can't do it. It's too fucking much to me. I can't even imagine what it would have been like if I had have, you know, had a gun. If I had have had a gun, if, you know, Australia allowed that kind of stuff, I don't think I'd be here today. So then dyed my hair black. I went full emo and I was so fucking proud of myself and happy. I was just living life, feeling beautiful, feeling good. Basically like a fuck you to everybody who ever told me that I was ugly or, you know, nobody would ever find me attractive and that, you know, I was weird looking basically. Yeah, I started getting into a lot of emo music like Bullet for My Valentine, Pierce the Veil, Slipknot. I was just very, very happy at that point. And it came to a time when I was around 16 and I had gotten signed to an agency, and that agency forced me out of being Caitlin and they forced me to look like a Barbie doll. I was actually constantly compared to, at the time, people like Lauren Gray and Britney Spears and just the really, really quintessential, gorgeous, blonde Barbie dolls. I was always compared to these women and it took a really big toll on me and it fucked me up for the longest time. And so because I was getting these negative comments about the way I was dressing, about how my hair looked, I knew that the only way to please these people was to be quote unquote normal again. And so that's exactly what I did. But it was also because around that time was when I first had gotten touched inappropriately by somebody. I don't even remember their name. I don't remember who they were, but I had gotten SA'd for the first time. And so I wanted to kill that girl who couldn't say no. I wanted to kill that girl who was not strong enough to say no. I wanted to, yeah, gut her. And so that's what I did. I was struggling so deeply with that. And this was the time that I started to pick up drinking a bit. And I had a really, really bad episode with drinking where I drank way too much to the point where it was fucking bad. I kept yelling over and over again how much I wanted to die, how much I wanted to kill myself. And it was really rough to put my family through that. And it's something where I think about nowadays and I'm like, I fucking hate myself for putting them through that. But they didn't know the demons that I was struggling with. Not soon after, I had gotten ARD and I hated myself. I hated myself so much because after I had gotten ARD, I was like, am I that weak of a fucking person? I can't fucking say no to someone? Am I that I'm not strong enough for this world. I can't say no. I've always got to let people walk all over me and take what they fucking want from me. This person took something from me that I was saving for someone I truly loved. And look, I'm not religious. I'm not anything like that. But I was never the person who wanted to just like fuck on the first date, or I've already told you guys, like I identified as asexual and I knew that the only way that I would get validation or attention from guys was to be sexual. But in doing that, it got me into a situation that'll stick with me for the rest of my life. Sorry, flashbacks are just hitting me right now. It was so fucking awful. It was so fucking awful. So yeah, I got an ARD. And then I just didn't know who I was. I was living on autopilot. I was just doing things to make other people happy so that I could just be left alone at the end of the day and just cry myself to sleep and just harm myself. Look, I've been self-harming since I was 14 and I had relapsed that time, and I self-harmed again and again and again because my mum had noticed them on my thighs one time and she yelled at me. But she only yelled at me because it was a very, like, traumatic experience for her. Why is her daughter cutting herself? Why is she doing that? Everything seems so perfect. She's doing really well in life. She's making friends. She's finally going out and seeing people. But I was only just trying to numb what was inside. I was only just trying to hide what had happened to me. And so, you know, that I had to deal with that from when I was 16 through to 17. And then when I hit 18, I said, fuck everyone. I'm doing me. And fuck what anyone thinks, including anyone who's my family or my friends and they think I'm fucking ugly for this. I don't fucking care. I was just like, I am so goddamn happy when I listen to the music that I want to, when I do these really weird things, you know, such as like, I really enjoyed going to the cemetery. Anytime, you know, there was a funeral that I attended, or my mum took me to go visit my nan at the graveyard. I loved it. It was such an overwhelming sense of peace there. You know, I read my first Edgar Allan Poe book and I completely forgot I fucking read that. I don't even know the name of it nowadays. And then I was listening to shit like The Cure, Bauhaus, Susie Sue and the Banshees, Pink Turns Blue. There was just so many bands that I started fucking with so heavily. And on top of that, like, I've already been a metalhead for most of my life. So then I found goth music and I was like, this is so fucking cool. Like, there is such a soul to goth, such a soul to goth. And this was also around the time that, to cope with my trauma, I was smoking a lot of weed. I was smoking a lot of weed because there is an event that happened to me not too long after I turned 17. There is an event that I will take with me to the grave. I will never speak about. It's too painful. It's too painful to even talk about. This is something I haven't even told my parents, any of my family, not my partner, not any friends. I've never told a single soul what happened to me. And so it made me so fucking anxious and scared and depressed and lonely that I started using weed really, really heavily. I smoked a lot of fucking weed. A lot of fucking weed. Most of my money actually would go on weed at the time. So I was, and people can say that, you know, a lot of people who smoke weed are like, yeah, I get addicted to weed, so why was I smoking it every single night to shut the fuck up what was going on in here? I was very, very, very addicted to it for a couple of years. I stopped smoking it not too long after I met my current partner, and I have been sober from that stuff for I don't know how long. I stopped smoking it towards the end of 2021. So it's been a long time. It has been definitely a long time, and it's something I look back on and I just can never do because I started to suffer psychosis from it. I started to suffer a lot of bad shit from smoking too much weed. So because I didn't want to put myself in a position where, you know, I gained a new mental illness that I don't fucking need. turned around 19, I had another event happen to me where I was touched inappropriately once again. I don't even know how I let that happen, but I think it was the feeling of being so fucking lonely that I would let anyone do what they wanted to me. And I had another normie phase. I wanted to kill that person again. I thought, every time I'm this fucking person, every time I'm the real Caitlin, I'm not faking this fucking shit, I get hurt. So I started to draw a correlation to that, and I just kind of broke. I broke. It was like less than a year I was in that normie phase, and then when I kind of like started this channel, I was just spreading so much fake positivity. I was spreading so much fake shit. That just was not who I was. If you watch a lot of my earliest videos, you are not watching me. You're not fucking watching me. You are watching a different person. You're watching somebody who it was a security blanket for me. You're watching somebody who was spreading so much fucking fake shit. So just fake positivity. And I'm not talking about any of my videos back then were fake or anything. I'm talking about me as a person. I would constantly be like, be yourself, guys. Love yourself. Meanwhile, I fucking hated myself every day I fucking woke up. I hate, not only did I hate myself, but I wasn't even being myself. So how the fuck could I continue with this fake shit? Meanwhile, I'm just watching everybody get to be who they really are. And it hurt a fucking lot. So then, I got back into goth because the only times I've ever not been goth in my life, or not being alternative, as you could put it, because I started out in this scene as an emo kid, I was really, really, really fucking depressed. And you really have to ask yourself, when you see a goth or an emo or any really alternative person, but I'd more so say goth because that's who I have identified as for a really long time. If they all of a sudden stop doing the get up, they all of a sudden change, there is something wrong there. Now, given the fact that for a lot of teenagers, it can be a phase because, it's more, like of Herbs and Alta said, it's a lot more aggressive, it's a lot more rebellion and fuck you kind of thing. But for me, goth was never that. And so, my mum, even till this day, still thinks that this is just a phase. And, I always have people making comments who knew my fake self. Are you fucking serious? You hear that? People still look at who I was back then and it's like, why can't you just be normal? Why can't you just go to that? Like, you'd be so much more marketable and famous and you'd be so fucking rich, Caitlin. And it's like, but that's not what I fucking care about. All I care about really is paying my bills and being able to go thrifting. So in the end, like, none of that shit really matters to me. I don't care about being famous. I don't care about being rich. I don't care about these superficial fucking things when it doesn't make me happy. Not only did my camera die, but the maintenance people at this apartment complex were being very noisy, so it's probably best that it ended there. I will say though, if you did enjoy this at all, let me know, because I didn't really get to touch a lot on the alcoholism part or the ED. I don't think I even mentioned that at all. So let me know, babes. I love you, okay?